doing? Today, we're going to be talking about what is going on at the Supreme Court because there is a lot going on at the Supreme Court. And we just got a few different orders today dealing with some Second Amendment cases. So, we're going to go ahead and jump right into it and get into the news. Hey everyone, it's John Crump. John Crump is who I am, and I'm an investigative journalist, and I'm nominated for Gundy for Best 2A Writer of the Year. Today, you guys can go vote. It's the last day that you can vote for me for Best 2A Writer of the Year at thegundys.com. I would appreciate your vote just so I can win something. All right, today we're going to be talking about what happened at the Supreme Court. Friday was a conference day, and today it was an order day. What an order day means is when the Supreme Court puts out whether they're going to take a case, which is known as granting a writ of certiorari, or they're going to deny cert. And we have some Second Amendment cases that have been denied cert, and one anti-gun case that was denied cert as well. So let's go ahead and talk about the ones that were denied, and that is Rush and Robinson. Both of these were Second Amendment cases dealing with the constitutionality of having SBRs on the NFA. Neither of these cases was granted cert, which means that the Supreme Court will not take up the cases. So they're not going to hear either cases dealing with SBRs. There's a bunch of other SBR challenges out there. So it could be that they just didn't want to hear these cases right now because they are looking forward to another SBR case, or they're just not going to take any SBR case. I don't know, and no one else does either. They really did not give any type of statement as to why they denied cert in Rush and Robinson. Now, they did deny cert in another case, and this is Gustafson. This is a case that dealt with the PLCAA out of Pennsylvania, and a bunch of people were trying to sue Springfield Armory for something that some bad guy did with their items. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court threw it out, stating that it violates PLCAA. The anti-gun groups led by Brady and also I think Giffords and some other anti-gun groups tried to intervene in this case, and they actually backed this case. So that was denied cert, which is a good thing because if they would have got granted cert and they would have won at the Supreme Court, it would have really defamed PLACA, which protects the gun industry from being sued over things that bad people do with their tools. So that is a good step in the right direction on that. The other two cases that they did not take kind of sucks, but they didn't take this case either. That leaves Duncan, Veramontes, and Gators out there. Those three cases, Duncan, for example, deals with magazine restrictions in California, but the are relisted, which means that the Supreme Court has not decided whether to grant or deny cert in those cases. So we're going to have to wait a little bit longer to see if the Supreme Court is going to take up those cases. They're going to have to be relisted and everything else. So the earliest that we're going to know anything on those cases is I don't know, because this was the last order date for this month. So the next order date right here, order is on the 26th of January. So we might get something then, but we're not going to get anything right now. We're going to have to see exactly what the Supreme Court does. The Supreme Court might be okay with keeping SBRs on the NFA, or they don't have the right challenge that they want. You got to remember, Kavanaugh wants a assault weapons case, but he wants the one that he wants. He wants a specific one. So we're going to get that, and we just don't know when or what case it's going to be. But I do agree that the Supreme Court is probably not going to wholesale get rid of the NFA. I could see them going after suppressors, SPRs, and SBSs, and AOWs actually. Everything that has a $0 tax stamp, I can see those getting removed from the NFA. I I don't foresee any future where the machine guns and destructive devices are going to come off the NFA. I just don't see that as realistic with the makeup of the court right now. So machine guns and destructive devices, I believe, are going to stay on the NFA, but we can dismantle the NFA a lot by removing SBRs, SBSs, and AOWs from the NFA. But destructive devices and machine guns, it's going to take a wholesale change in the court to get rid of that. I don't see that happening for the next generation or so, if even then. So we're gonna have to see what happens. It was Brady that supported the Gustafson case. Ugh. So we're gonna have to see exactly what happens, but it could be GVR'd as well. GVR means granted, vacated, or remanded. Like in the Maryland case, there's a Maryland case I did something on a couple days ago, and in fact, on MLN.com should be one of my articles on it, which is a woman that was arrested for using her gun in self-defense in Maryland. That's Gardner versus Maryland. And 12 senators asked the Supreme Court to grant cert in that, and that deals with nationwide reciprocity. So that could happen too, and I believe that one has a really good chance of making it. So we're just gonna have to wait and see what they grant, but uh, unfortunately, 2 cases got dismissed. I figured that they were gonna get dismissed, and one of the cases that got dismissed, the 3rd case, is one that actually helps us because it keeps PLACA alive. So there we go. But in Gardner, I believe what they're gonna end up doing in that, they're gonna GVR that, they're gonna grant it, vacate it, and remand it down to the circuit court to use Bruin to determine if the law is constitutional, because the circuit court and Gardner, they disregarded Bruin at all. They did not do a Bruin analysis. They concentrated on footnote 9, which Kavanaugh wrote, that says some permitting schemes are constitutional, but he didn't say that all permitting schemes are constitutional. He said some permitting schemes are constitutional, but they can still be challenged by a Bruin analysis. And when the Third Circuit heard that, or Fourth Circuit, sorry, when the Fourth Circuit heard that, they just said they're presumably constitutional. No Bruin analysis is needed, even though that's not what footnote 9 said. But what they were trying to do is get around that and rule against Gardner and hold up the Maryland conviction, because if they do a Bruin analysis, they would realize that reciprocity should be the law of the land, and reciprocity should be good for the whole entire country. But we're gonna have to wait and see what happens with that. There's no word on that case either. So yeah, we're in a kind of a holding position right now, besides the 2 cases that got denied cert on our side and the 1 case that got denied cert on the anti-gunner side. So right now, that's all we have. And we're gonna have to wait and see exactly what happens. And with that, we are going to get out of here, and I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.